Welcome inside the John Marzano Studios in New York City. I'm Vinny McCucci. That's Jim Duquette. Jim, we have the Angels and the White Sox. And I'm not talking about the two teams that faced off back in the playoffs in the ALCS several years ago. I'm talking about here in 2008 where these two teams are both, of course, looking to make the playoffs. The Angels, that should be the case. The White Sox still up in the air, which means when this series takes place this weekend, we have two teams, one of which who is very comfortable in their position against another that's not quite sure. That should certainly mix things up.
I think it's interesting because the Angels really are trying to guard against the complacency that, when you look at what they've done since August, they've played 500 baseball. The reason, I think, a big reason for that is they have a 17-game lead. The magic number is 6 right now. They don't have a sense of urgency where somebody is chasing them from behind. They're really trying to make sure they're staying healthy and doing some things, playing the game the right way. And so, therefore, they don't have that hunger or that sense of urgency that the White Sox have.
All right, let's start with the Los Angeles Angels here. You mentioned a 17-game lead, and a magic number of 6 is incredible. I mean, it's only early September here at this point, but they're going to have that division wrapped up some point soon. So let's look towards the playoffs and look towards this weekend series, because some fans in Los Angeles are kind of wondering, all right, because the team is so far in front, how we dissect them a little bit.
They are the best balanced team, I think, in the American League and maybe even in baseball. Their offense really did struggle, like you said, most of the year. When they picked up Mark Teixeira, he got off to a slow start, but since he's come over in 32 games, he's hit 376 with 9 home runs, 28 RBI. So he has been, I think, that bat that they've been lacking, and I think that's taken the pressure off the rest of the hitters, especially a guy like Torrey Hunter and Vladimir Guerrero. On the pitching side, I think they have the best balance. Obviously, the starting rotation is terrific. We know that. But the back end of the bullpen is probably the weakest part. Other than Scott Shields and K-Rod, they've had some struggles there in the middle relief.
All right, now, of course, as far as you had mentioned, complacency can set in, but this is a team that the West is going to be won very shortly. They will play the wild card winner, but best record still is up in the air, too, for a potential playoff matchup down the line. Let's switch to the White Sox side of things. They're just a game and a half up over the Minnesota Twins entering the weekend. So as far as they're concerned, their playoff hopes still very much up in the air, and they're going to need to play some good baseball. But then, again, a balanced team, but where do you see their strengths and weaknesses?
Well, if you look at the White Sox, they are, I think, the second most balanced team in the American League, really behind the Angels. You look at their offenses, they're leading the American League in home runs. You look at their starting pitching and their pitching overall, they lead the American League in ERA. There's not an awful lot of weakness when you look at them from that standpoint. I do think there's some holes in their middle relief still, but obviously when you have a guy like Linebrink and Jenks at the end of the ball game, you can shut down a team real quickly. So there are not an awful lot of weaknesses. I think the main thing with Chicago is the difficult schedule that they have at the remainder of September, and how Minnesota, is obviously still chasing them when nobody really thought that they would be there.
All right, this could be a potential American League Championship Series preview. It's the Angels visiting the White Sox at U.S. Cellular Field over the weekend. For Jim Duquette, I'm Vinny McCucci. This is MLB.com.